Something happened to me soon after I arrived in Chinese Asia for the first time that changed my life. It's responsible for the career that I've had. It's responsible for me standing here right now talking to you. I first arrived January 10, 1985. It was a Thursday night. It was raining. The plane pulled up to Taoyuan Airport in Taiwan, and the fastened seatbelt light went off. Everybody jumped up to try and be first off the plane. I sat there, unsure what to do. I couldn't speak one word of Chinese. I didn't know one person. I had no job, nowhere to stay, and making it worse, I'd bought a one-way ticket across the Pacific, ended in Hong Kong, but I didn't know anyone in Hong Kong either. I had some money in my pocket, but not enough for a return ticket. I wasn't nervous, though. I was scared. But my Chinese professors and Chinese that I'd met at university had told me, Greg, don't worry about it. You'll do fine. And they were right. After 3 days, I was teaching English. By the end of January, I had made 2 groups of Chinese friends, my Group A friends, my Group B friends, and I'm living with a Chinese family. Now, all the conversations I'm going to tell you about right now happened in English. I didn't take a magic pill and suddenly I can speak Mandarin. So all the conversations are in English. Well, Chinese New Year's is rapidly approaching. This year it was on February 20. And that, as you know, as Chinese New Year's gets closer and closer, it's all people talk about. It dominates the conversation. And that so I'm having the same basic conversations with the Group A people, the Group B people, and the father of the Chinese family. And so each time they're telling me about Chinese New Year's traditions, and I'm comparing them to Western Christmas. Chinese New Year's and Western Christmas are the most important holidays of the year for the family. Chuxi Wanshang, Chinese New Year's Eve, and Christmas Day, that meal is the most important meal of the year. Well, as we're talking back and forth with the Group A, B, and the father, there came a time in each conversation where I thought for sure the next thing they were going to say is, well, Greg, would you like to come to our house for dinner? But they never asked. And I never was, it was funny. It was strange. It was almost like they were playing with me. They were getting right ready to invite me, but then they didn't. It was like, you'd really like this, but we're not going to give it to you. Well, I'm a long way from home. Most of what's happening around me I don't understand. So I just think, well, maybe they wanted to invite me, but there's some Chinese tradition you're not allowed to have a foreigner or an outsider at that meal. It's just for family. That's what I figured. So the morning of Chinese New Year's Eve, I wake up. I have nowhere to eat dinner that night. Well, I thought I'd just go to the store and buy some chips and beer and eat in my room, just like university. And so at 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting in the living room and I'm smoking my long life cigarette. And the telephone rings, and it's my friends from Group A. And the conversation goes, Greg, we will pick you up for dinner at 6 o'clock tonight. Okay, 6 o'clock tonight. Where? The front gate of Shida, my university. Oh, okay, good. I'll see you there. And I hang up. And I'm going, when did these people invite me? When did I say yes? Because it was obvious from listening to them that they thought they had invited me and I had said yes. They're just confirming the time. So as I'm sitting there and I'm smoking another cigarette and wondering, and then I'm going, well, I'll find out later. Right now I need to go out and buy some flowers or something. And the telephone rings. And it's my friends from Group B. And the conversation goes, Greg, we will pick you up for dinner at 6 o'clock tonight. I'm sorry, James. I can't go for dinner with you tonight. I'm going somewhere else. But Greg, we invited you and you said yes. Oh, it was an incredibly embarrassing moment. I really like the Group B people a little bit better than the Group A people, but what have I done? I have done at the very last moment, I've told them, hey, look, I know I said I'd go to your house, but I've changed my mind and I'm going to go somewhere else. Too bad. That is not the way to build a friendship. And I stopped seeing the Group B people after this. Well, so now I'm smoking 2 cigarettes, and if I had hair, I'd be pulling it out. When did these people invite me? When did I say yes? Well, this is bad, isn't it? It's about to get worse, because the father of the Chinese family had been listening to my side of both conversation, and he walks up to me, and I can still see his face. I can hear his voice. And he said, "But Greg, didn't you say you were having dinner with us tonight?" Well, no, I didn't. And so within 3 weeks, I had to move out of that house because they were unhappy that I had agreed in their mind to go and have dinner with them that night. And then I decided at the last minute to go somewhere else. Well, it took me 2 years to figure out how that happened, why that happened. And by that time, I was hooked on understanding how to cross the East-West cultural divide. My career changed from what I was planning to go and get a PhD to learning how to help Westerners and Chinese work together. And that's what I've been doing for the last 30 years. But I know you want to find out about how this happened, why this happened. Well, it's something that's very common, but as I say, it took me 2 years to figure it out. The Chinese used English words to invite me, but used a Chinese way of inviting that Westerners don't know about. In the West, there's only one way to give an invitation. It's called a yes-no question. If there's no, would you like to go? Do you want to go? Where you are now asked a question and you have 2 choices, yes or no. If there isn't that question, there is no invitation, no exceptions. And this is true in Portuguese, French, German, Italian, Spanish. It's not just in English. This is a Western thing. No Chinese, not Group A, B, father of the Chinese family, never asked me a yes-no question, so I never had a chance to go, yes, I'd love to. And so there was no invitation. But they thought there was, and they thought I had said yes, because Chinese do invite using yes-no questions. But Chinese also have another way of inviting, a more indirect way, a more polite way, let's call it, that Westerners have no idea about. And so I've taught maybe 1,000 Westerners and 1,000 Chinese in small classes, 12 to 15 people at a time. And so you get a real good chance to listen to what people say. And I've asked Westerners about this. I've told this story. So many of them have said something similar. That happened to me. And so it's not just to me. This is what Chinese do. Nothing wrong with what they've done. If they use that way English words to invite me now, well, I now know about that Chinese way of inviting, and I would recognize this is an invitation. Now I get to say yes or no. But that most Westerners, 99% of the Westerners that you meet, will not recognize that that is an invitation. And so you will think, yeah, I invited them and they said yes. And they will think, well, gee, that was really funny. You know, he was almost ready to invite me, but he didn't invite me. This is not a good way to build a relationship. What we're looking at here is we're looking at the fact that every culture develops its own way of using language. I call it the rules of communication. When you communicate across cultures, Everyone thinks you need language skills and that's all you need. And that if you're now having problems communicating in English in the West, you think it's your fault. You think your language skills are not good enough. So you read more books, study more, learn more grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, idioms, slang. Hey, all of that is good stuff, and I recommend that you do that. But in my experience, it's probably not what's causing you the most problems. What's causing you the most problems is that you are using English words in a Chinese way. So cross-culture communication is a two-step process. First, you need a language in common with a certain level of language skills. Second, you need a way of using language in common. And that this is what causes the trouble. This is why I accepted 3 invitations to dinner.